Top Secret fam, is Marisol Credle here. I am the founder of Top Secret Songwriter, and I help to empower and educate songwriters, artists who are up and coming, providing you with the resources, the tools to help yourself, empower yourself to create the life, the business, and the opportunities for yourself in this new music industry. Today, I'm bringing you a special guest. Yes, on this new series I'm trying out called The Yolk, giving you the inside scoop and interviewing very prominent people who are experts in their field, and is going to give you some insight and knowledge into what you as an artist can do to create your empire, to start your networks, to build your brands, and to really create the dream career that you want for yourself. So today, my special guest is entertainment attorney Bob Celestin. As a graduate of Yale University and Columbia Law School, Mr. Robert A. Celestin, Esquire, has practiced entertainment law in New York City for over 25 years. Mr. Celestin started his legal career as an associate at K. Scholar Al practiced corporate law. He went on to work in legal departments of Arista Records, working with the legendary Clive Davis. He then went on to work as the VP General Manager of Uptown Records, the house of superstars Mary J. Blige, Heavy D and the Boys, and Sean Diddy Combs. He later worked for Untouchables Entertainment, Inc., the home of Pete Rock and CL Smooth and Donnell Jones, as VP, where he then went on to work with his mentor, entertainment attorney Louis West Esquire, in representing Timbaland, Missy Elliott, and Genuine. He also managed the Grammy-nominated and platinum-selling pop R&B group City High. Presently, Mr. Celestin Law Firm, the law office of Robert A. Celestin, represents and provides strategic advice and counsel to independent record label startups and production companies, recording artists, producers, songwriters, reality TV stars, DJs, and others. His present clients that he has are Designer, 6ix9ine, XXX and his estate, Fatboy SSE, DJ Self, Azima, and so much more. Guys, welcome Bob Celestin. All right, we have Bob Celestin here, and we're just going to jump right into it. How are you doing, Bob?
I'm doing well, Marisol. Thank you so much for inviting me to this wonderful Zoom call. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you for being here. We have so many artists and, that are just starting out, that are trying to get their foot in the game, trying to get into the music industry. They're writing their own songs, they're putting their material out, but they're feeling like, I'm not getting anywhere with this. I don't know where to start, what to do. And the biggest thing is a lot of artists are getting into a lot of scams, and, they don't know how to protect their music. So I think, with this conversation, we'll just talk about, different ways that artists can protect their music. You share a little bit about what entertainment lawyers do and when it's a good time for artists to come see you. So we'll just ask a few questions. But first of all, can you tell us a little bit about entertainment lawyer and what they do?
Well, as an entertainment lawyer, as you can imagine, I specialize in the area of entertainment, primarily music. I do a little bit of TV, or I should say I do a little bit more than a little reality TV, very little film these days, but primarily music. My job is to help advise and counsel young recording artists, negotiate their deals, and to make sure that if they're going to enter into a deal, it's the best deal possible, that they're getting, the deal is treating them with the respect that they deserve as being a creative, okay? So that entails me, having conversations with the artists, trying to figure out what their, short-term goals are, what their long-term goals are as far as their career is concerned. If there's a particular deal on the table, what do they expect to receive from this deal? Again, whether it's short-term or long-term, and try to kind of fulfill those expectations. I try to manage my clients' expectations and be realistic, and try to help them navigate the terms of a deal so they can get the best deal possible. As new artists, you know, there's so many artists. I think there was a statistic I read that there was something like 40,000 new artists either a day or a week, you know, coming online. So there's, you know, everybody and their mom is an artist now. So it makes it harder for the artist to sometimes, you know, break out from the pack, right? Having said that, every artist should understand that if they're creating something, a song, or they're creating a beat, they have what's known as a copyright in whatever they create. What does that mean? Well, that means that they have the right to allow others. So if you take the word copyright and you reverse it, right copy, right to copy, means that they have the right to allow a third party to copy the record, to distribute the record, you know, in some instances to alter it, et cetera, right? So at the bare minimum, what every artist or every creative should do is familiarize themselves with www.copyright.gov. And remember these three initials, CYS, which stands for copyright your shit, okay? So at the bare minimum, without a lawyer, every time you create a piece of art, go to the Copyright Office and protect it, register it, right? In the event down the road, one of your songs is infringed upon, which means that someone else that you have not authorized to exploit your music or your songs is doing so, in order for you to be able to actually sue them, you must have registered the songs with the Copyright Office. This was a recent Supreme Court case, I think it was like last year or a couple of years ago, that mandated from this point forward, in order for you to be able to sue someone for copyright infringement, register that composition, that song, that recording with the Copyright Office before you can even initiate a lawsuit or a legal claim against that infringing party. So back in the day, you used to have this called the poor man's copyright, or let me mail an envelope to myself. That is dead.
Okay. Yeah, I just had a discussion with that with someone the other day, and they were like, well, would this suffice? Would this suffice? You know, so now hearing this from an entertainment attorney, guys, you have to copyright your songs if you are able to have a legal activity against someone who's infringed upon your rights.
And by the way, just to be clear, registering your song with ASCAP and BMI is not a copyright protection.
No.
Some people think, oh, I just registered my song with BMI or ASCAP. I'm like, and?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't that protect? Oh, it doesn't. You still have to go register with the Copyright Office, www.copyright.gov, CYS, copyright your shit.
Nice. So with that said, you have you have a celebrity list of, you know, artists that you represent. You know, what is the difference between having a celebrity artist who have millions of fans and having an independent artist that comes to you? You know, do you see any differences and any issues that the artist may come into? And how does the artist like navigate through those issues?
Well, again, the difference between, you know, a superstar artist and a new artist boils down to one word, and it's called leverage, right? So attorneys are better able to negotiate the best possible deals or the more favorable deals for their clients if they have leverage. And what is leverage? Leverage is I've got millions of fans that are, you know, streaming my music on Apple or Spotify, or are streaming my video on YouTube. That leverage and those millions of fans equal dollars. Mm-hmm. So it puts me as the attorney in a better position to negotiate a far more superior deal for a particular client. When you're an independent artist and you're on your way up, your leverage is probably next to nothing. So it's very, very difficult to get the kind of perks or the advantageous deal terms that I can get for a superstar artist. So accordingly, a lot of artists are not going to get the best, I should say a lot of new independent artists are not going to get the best deal possible because they don't have the leverage, right? The only way to change that is for you as an independent artist to get to the point where, knock on wood, a song goes viral, or you've got, whether that's, going viral, whether that's on TikTok or a YouTube video goes viral, or you have a record that's streaming, millions of streams. Guess what? Now, what you have is record labels or publishers knocking on your door, trying to get you to sign to their company. And then when you bring in an attorney, an entertainment attorney, if the attorney has enough experience and relationships, he can parlay that interest into a much more favorable and, in a lot of ways, financially much more favorable type of a deal.
Yeah. So what have you seen lately? Let's say if it was just let's just talk about songwriters. So someone's new to songwriting, or let's just say they're starting over and they're trying to get back into songwriting, and they have a catalog of songs that they could license off or, place with different artists. What are some of the deals for songwriters that you're seeing right now? Because, they're trying to be creative with how, you guys create these kind of deals for songwriters, because you see so many people that are independent now and they have their own platforms and their own networks. And so what have you seen in regards to like major publishing companies, like kind of co-publishing deals with independent songwriters? Like, what are some of the deals?
Well, first and foremost, when you say songwriters, you're talking about top liners, lyricists?
Yes.
Or are you talking about producers, or both?
Top liners, lyricists.
Top liners. Okay, so first thing is, if you're a top liner, meaning, for those of you who have never heard that term before, it's a term of art in the music industry, and it refers to the folks that write the lyrics and come up with the melodies. Okay, top liner. Well, first and foremost, anybody out there that's a brand new songwriter, you have to affiliate or, partner up with a producer. Someone is going to create the musical or instrumental bed upon which you will write your lyrics. So that can sometimes entail some trial and error, trying to find that producer or producers that you fit with, right? Because it's very, very difficult to just shop lyrics in and of themselves.
Yeah.
A&Rs at record labels are looking for completed songs. So you really do want to partner up with a producer, create a song. It's a plus if you can sing and you can reference your own vocals like you do, Marisol. A lot of people may not know this, but you have a great voice and you reference your vocals.
That makes it a lot easier for someone.
It makes it a lot easier, as opposed to now you got to go find a singer or singers, that are going to be able to sing the songs. You got to make sure that they're singing it the way you want them to sing it. You got to make sure they're professional enough to show up. All of that is alleviated if you can sing, and therefore reference, work with the producer. Now, once you have that, it's a joint effort between yourself and the producer. And if the producer has a management team or whatever the case may be, of trying to get those songs to as many artists as possible. Whether it's rappers or other singers, depending on what you're doing, you got to try to get that to as many people as possible. Actually, the producer that you're working with might be a producer that gets placements. Right. If he gets the songs placed with a major artist or an artist that's signed to a major record label, he may not be a big artist yet, but he may be on the come up, or she may be on the come up. Then if that record ends up being a single and does very, very well, so streams very well, maybe gets radio play, boom, guess what? Publishing companies are going to be chasing you, right? And they're going to try to offer two types of deals. One is a co-publishing agreement where the publishing company will have an ownership interest in the copyright to the songs that you've written. In return, they'll give you an advance or money up front. They will then collect the proceeds or the sales, the revenue generated by the presentation of the particular composition. And once they've recouped their initial investment, they will then pay you a royalty, a percentage. They will take a percentage, and life goes on. Sometimes those deals are in perpetuity, which means that you guys will forever be joined by at the hip. Or sometimes you can negotiate what's known as a reversion or retention period, whereby after the publishing company has recouped a certain number of years after that happens, anywhere from 10 to 15 years, the song will revert, the entirety of the song will revert back to you, okay? Another type of deal is what's known as an administration deal or an admin deal, where the publisher will have no ownership interest in the copyright, but will instead help collect the monies that the songs are being generated, that are being generated by the song from all the various third-party exploiters, so to speak. And in return, they would take a percentage. You still own your, and oftentimes some administrators will not do anything extra. That is, they may not try to actively shop your songs to other artists or try to shop your songs to TV or film. And if they do, they will want a higher percentage of any placement that they get for you.
Yes. So I often think about those types of deals when artists are like, you know, what can I do? What can I do? Or if I could start off with just one song. So can you tell me a little bit about the one song deals in publishing?
Right.
You know, you kind of, or like you say, maybe a publishing company wants to partner with an artist for a year contract, just to see if the relationship.
Yeah, yes, that's the other thing too. Like if you only got one song and that song is going viral and is doing very, very well, yes, they can do a one song a deal for that one, you know, for that one song. The other scenarios, the co-publishing agreement or the admin deal that I talked about, usually are longer term agreements, right? Because the publishing company, especially if they're going to pay you some money up front, they want to be able to have enough time to recoup their investment, right? But again, if you only have one record and you don't have anything in your catalog that excites a publisher, they may just say, hey, look, we just want to do a deal for this one song, give you a certain amount of money, keep it going.
Right. So when you talk about the advancement, right? A lot of times that's something that.
Correct you. Let me correct you. It's not an advancement. It's an advance.
Oh, in advance. So all of this money has to be recouped, right, by the artist.
Correct.
Because a lot of people get that misconstrued. They think this advance is something that they could just go blow and it's free money and it's not tied to anything, like they don't have to pay it back.
Well, the difference is that people have to be careful. And an advance is not a loan. Meaning the company, the publisher, is taking a risk. They have software that allows them to look at the various streams of income that the song is generating and do a guesstimate of what they think that song will earn, and they will make an offer based on that estimate. If, however, the song doesn't generate enough money for them to recoup the advance that they pay you, it's their loss. In other words, they're not going to come back to you, Marisol, and say, excuse me, oh, you have that beautiful house that you're in, that you're filming this Zoom call from? Well, you owe us, $50,000, and we're going to put a lien on your house. You got to pay us back. No, it doesn't get that way. So if you can, because I have clients say, oh, I don't want that much of an advance because I want to recoup. I'm like, No, get as much money as you possibly can get up front, because you don't know how well that record is going to do. You don't know if the record label that the artist is signed to goes out of business, or they start promoting it, or they decide that they want to focus their promotional marketing monies on another artist. And now the song is not getting the push that it needs. And so it doesn't generate the revenue that you thought it was going to. So you need to have that money up front. Now, obviously, when you get that money, you have taxes to pay. You should, depending on the amount, think about hiring a business and or a financial advisor who will then sit with you and say, okay, how do we make this money grow? How can we, what things can we invest in to make this amount of money you receive, especially if it's a substantial amount of money, make it grow?
No, that's good
First,
advice.
Yes.
Because who would think of that, especially if you are not thinking about the business side of things and the financial side as a new artist, and you get this lump sum of money and you're just like, whoa, let me get a car, let me get this, or let me get that, all these different things.
Let me ball out.
Yeah.
I want to ball out. Can't ball out.
Let me just get this straight so that viewers can understand. It's in advance, and it's money that you have to recoup back, like through sales and royalties, right?
That's correct. That's correct. It's not an advancement.
Right.
People say that word, and I'm like, where'd that come from?
Right.
In advance.
In advance. All right, you heard it here first from an official attorney.
Exactly.
All right, so let's see. So these are some questions I'm just going to pop out. What are some red flags to look out for regarding management? So a lot of songwriters, a lot of artists, they feel like they need a manager to help them with day-to-day business stuff or getting gigs or getting opportunities. What are some red flags that they could look out for when it comes to management contracts?
One of the things you want to be careful about is if you meet a manager that says to you, "Oh, you have to pay me to manage you," and red flag number one. A manager, a good way to look at a manager is a manager should be an individual or individuals that have a vision for your career that you either already have for yourself, or they have a vision for your career that you don't even have. Like they see you at, like, let's say from 1 to 10, 1 being your newbie, 10 meaning like you're a superstar. They see you, oh, you could be a 10, and you thought maybe you could only be a 5 or a 6 or a 7, right? That's a very, very important thing to look at. You want to find out about, so that's one red flag. The manager says, oh yeah, you got to pay me to be a manager. That's a red flag, because if they believe in you, they're going to put the time and effort and realize that, hey, they'll get their percentage, and managers usually get anywhere from 10 to 20% of whatever you earn. They'll get that money if they help you get to a certain level, right? The second thing is if they try to give you a contract and they say, oh, if they don't say to you as a manager to say, hey, go have an attorney review this. If they tell you, oh, it's standard, you should just sign it, that's red flag number 2, okay? See you later, alligator, okay? And then I think red flag number 3 is they really don't understand the music business. They don't really understand where the music business is, what's going on with it. They don't understand about social media marketing, certain kind of things that they should know to advise you. They really don't know. And they try to pick it off or whatever the case may be. And that's a problem. Any manager should have a fundamental understanding of the state of the music industry in 2020, not the music industry, in 2000.
Right.
They have to keep pace. They have to be knowledgeable. And so if they don't really know about what's happening in the business, that's another red flag. Right. All right. And then maybe the fourth red flag is they don't have any relationships in the business. And again, when you're a new manager, sometimes you don't have that, right? Right. But if they don't have, relationships with, folks in the music industry, that could potentially be a red flag.
Right. A lot of artists, you know, they have a family member or a friend or someone that's been a part of their close inner circle to be their managers. So, you know, sometimes, like you said, even though they may not have a lot of resources or connections to people that are in the music industry, they have this loyalty and trust factor between the artists. So in that sense, it may not be a red flag because you know the person and you have a relationship. But in terms of someone you don't know that comes up to you to become a manager and say, hey, I could do X, Y, and Z, those would be considered the red flags.
Correct. And also, you know, look, in the very beginning, you may have somebody, a family member or somebody, a homeboy, whatever, a homegirl that really believes in you.
Yeah.
But not have all the information, then they should be open to partner up with somebody who does.
Right.
Right. And learn from that person and then get to a point where they, okay, now I can manage.
Right. So for you as an entertainment attorney, what do you avoid when working with a songwriter or artist? Do you avoid anything? Like, what are some of the things that you look at before you
Well,
represent?
as with anything, I like to be paid, right? It's always nice to be in a position where, because this is what I do for a living. Mm-hmm. So if a writer coming to me or songwriters coming with me with a publishing deal, whatever, I'd like it to be a real deal where, you know, there's money from that deal to pay me and to also pay them. And then, you know, you have to excuse the background noise. I'm in New York City. Okay. New York.
Right.
But, you know, the other aspects of it too is that attorneys, generally speaking, have to devote a certain number of pro bono hours, meaning basically free legal work.
Yes.
And depending on the workflow, there may be certain clients that can't pay my fee, but I think there's potential there.
Right.
One of the things I look at is the work ethic and the work attitude. How badly do they want it? What are they willing to do? How close are they to advice that I might give them? And do they implement the advice I give them? Mm-hmm. Right? Those type of clients, you know, are much more attractive than the clients that think they know it all, right, don't listen when you give them the advice, and all they do is waste my time.
Right. So speaking of that, when do you think it's a good time for artists or songwriters or anyone in the music industry to contact you to enlist your services?
Really, when they really have, like, they're about to get some paperwork.
Right.
Right? When they're being, you know, given a contract. Like I had a client today who called me and said, yo, I got these 2 contracts. You know, I took and I hadn't heard from this client in a minute. Right. But once I had once he had some contracts that I could review, we could have a conversation about, I think that's when it really makes sense to do it. Now, obviously, if you are trying to set your business up and get everything going, yeah, you can hire an attorney to consult you, give you some basic advice about the business, and give you some, you know, tips on how best to get yourself set up as a business, whether it's forming a company. You know, if you have more than one person that's going to be part of the company, then you have to have an agreement with them. If you're an artist or you're going to sign a writer or whatever the case may be, you need to have the requisite paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some, you know, groundwork, legal groundwork, and legal and business groundwork that needs to be handled also by entertainment attorney.
Okay, that's good advice. What are some things that you've seen hinder artists, songwriters from success?
Lack of consistency, mm-hmm, and the level of unprofessionalism, and the lack of talent. You know what I mean? Like, if you're talented, Oh, well, right? You could do it, you know, I mean, you do have to some degree have some level of talent, but if you have the talent and your work ethic is trash, you're not willing to put in the sacrifice and put in the time to get better at your craft,
Right.
or you're easily dissuaded when somebody says no to you.
Right.
When you're shopping your music and that kind of thing, you're probably going to hear a lot more no's before you hear that one yes. But if you give up, if you don't have faith in yourself and you give up, oh well, you're going to be shoulda, coulda, woulda, all of that.
Right.
Right. So a lot of times it's the creative themselves that hold themselves back.
Right.
You know, if
Yeah.
you're going to be in this business and you're really serious about it, you must have a strong work ethic. You must be willing to make sacrifices. Girlfriends or boyfriends got to take a second back seat. Now, if you have children, like I was talking to a client yesterday that has a child, and the child's in the teens, and she's like, yo, I got to slow down on the music because I got to focus on my kid. I'm like, all I could do was applaud her because that's exactly the right answer. Once you have children, well, like my mother used to say when she had us, when she had me and my siblings, she was like, well, my life is kind of over right now.
Right.
It's to work for you.
Right.
And it's on women because fortunately, you guys are the ones carrying the child, right? So not to say that because you have a child doesn't mean you can't be successful, but it's a little harder. It's best if you have a support system to help you with the child or children so that you can focus 100% or at the very least 90% on the craft, getting better at what you're doing the whole nine.
Right. Yeah, that's a major thing because I get a lot of people asking questions about, I'm ready to give up, or I can't do this, nothing's working. And the key thing you said is consistency and with the work ethic, Sometimes you may lack on the talent, but you very consistent and you have a good work
That's true.
ethic, and you could really make things happen for yourself.
Correct.
And that level of professionalism, that goes a long way. And I think a lot of artists forget that step of not.
Yeah, don't come to the studio writing. Don't come to the studio. Don't have your song ready to go. Oh, I gotta write it now. I gotta take the time to write it. Like, what were we doing last night? Like, you should have wrote the song last night or last week, so that when you came to the studio, you could lay it down.
Yeah, definitely be prepared in the sessions.
Yeah, be prepared. Yeah. Or you got an appointment, you got to meet with an artist that you're gonna write for, and you're late.
Right. And that's studio time, and that's money.
That's correct. And also it lets me know, like, okay, you're not serious.
Right. So I think a lot of artists should pay attention to those things because that's a factor in them, being able to have partnerships and, co-write, writing with other people and collaborating with other people, because they see that and they're like, I don't want to waste my time to work with you. And then they're wondering, why? I have talent. Right. I'm good. Like, you can't just have talent. So
exactly.
That's good advice. What are some ways, because I talked about this with different artists too. You got to be creative, think outside the box, because like you said, there's so many artists out there, so many songwriters, and it's just a huge melting pot of so much, right? So much competition. And I think that scares a lot of artists because they start to compare themselves to other people, and they're thinking like, well, dang, I'm not like this artist, or I don't have this many followers. What can you say from your point of view as an entertainment attorney, different ways that artists could make money and be successful on any of those levels? And how can they ensure that they receive their money?
Well, I mean, when you say artists in general, you're talking about just songwriters, just artists in general?
Artists, because songwriters, I consider are artists too. So if you're just
they are, but I mean, are they just are they like recording artists also, or are they just focusing?
Yeah, I would say recording artists, musicians, lyricists, songwriters, top line songwriters.
Okay, cool.
All.
I got it. I mean, again, the sad thing about it for a lot of recording artists is the inability to tour because of the pandemic, right? So, if an artist has a growing social media presence, there are opportunities that present themselves, whether it's, brands or sponsors reaching out I have a number of clients that are doing brand deals with Essentia, with Estee Lauder for, I mean, these are, female clients that are like brand ambassadors because their social media that they put in time over the years to work and develop, they're constantly putting up content. And when you have social media starts to really grow, advertisers or third party companies will pay you sometimes a substantial amount for you to post or to advertise or market their brand, right? It's one thing. There are songwriters that are really like writing for other artists, and those other artists are paying, right? So you have that aspect of it. And if you're an artist and you have a particular talent, let's say you're an artist, you can know how to play the guitar or you could play the piano. There are artists that are like, hey, selling online courses on playing the piano or, doing online tutoring. Right. So, I mean, there's probably a lot more. And I would invite your listeners to kind of chime in if they've heard of other artists and how they're making money, how they're making ends meet. Because I'd be curious also to learn that. But those are some of the things that I see some of my clients doing. And they also do a lot of non-artistic stuff, like whether it's day trading stocks or, selling products on Shopify, things of those, that nature. Anything to avoid getting a real job.
Yeah. Yeah, I just talked about this the last week about, ways that artists could make money. And right now it's really big of licensing their music to like Envato, like a lot of stock footage websites. And you can go on there and license a track directly from those sites. So there are new ways of making money online. What is some advice that you would give, just some encouraging words, because I know you got to go, to any artists out there that may be struggling or having doubts? What words of advice would you give them?
I mean, the word that I would say, first thing you should do is look in the mirror and ask yourself honestly, do you really want to do this? To be honest with yourself. Because for some artists, it's a hobby, right? Because if you really want to do it, you have to be able, the second question you have to say, if you say, I really want to be an artist, the second question I say is, okay, great. What am I prepared to sacrifice? What am I prepared to give up in order to achieve my dreams? Right? If you can't answer that question, probably this is not for you. And that's okay. There's various degrees. Like I said, you can just treat it as a hobby. Something that I like to do, I write a song once a month, every other month, put it out. You'd be surprised, even something like that. One of those songs might go viral, or some other artist might be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then you're off to the races, right? If you're really gonna take this thing seriously, you have to be honest, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, listen, I want this.
Exactly.
Then you gotta say, I'm willing to sacrifice. Boyfriend, girlfriend, put money aside. I got, hey, I got money to either go to Jamaica for vacation or go studio time. What should I do? Go to vacation on Jamaica, or am I gonna put that money in the studio time? All really wants is gonna be like, later for Jamaica. I'm putting this money in the studio time. I go to Jamaica when I blow up.
No, that's good, encouraging words to just, it's like you're telling people to decide, like, what's
correct. You gotta decide.
Why are you doing this, really? Like, what are you trying to gain?
Correct.
No, that's really good. And I appreciate you, Bob. You're like the top singer-songwriter, little in-house entertainment attorney guru that just comes in and gives your advice to everyone who may be wondering, who are just starting out, and they're like, you know, what is entertainment attorney? What can I do? When do I need one? So I
Right.
really appreciate you taking the time to, you know, do this today. So
Marisol, first of all, I appreciate you reaching out to me. For those of you who may not know, Marisol is a client of mine, or really was, I should say, a former client of mine, because she's moved into onto other, I guess, bigger and better things. And anytime she calls me, I have no choice but to answer her call and you know, help her in any way possible. But I also want to applaud you, Marisol, for providing this type of a medium for aspiring songwriters, producers, and artists. I think the more information that you can provide to these talented individuals, the better off it is. So again, let me give you a shout out, you know, give you a little clap, you know what I'm saying, for creating this forum, or this vehicle to enlighten up and coming artists.
thank you. No, I appreciate it. And you can tell, you know, we have a passion for it, helping others and empowering people to make the choices for themselves. So,
Lit.
well, thank you guys for tuning in, and you can go visit Bob. What's your website, Bob? You know, I'm going to have everything up here on the screen.
Yeah, but it's, you know, they can go and check me out on the Grizzam at Bob, B-O-B, Celestin, Celestin, or they go to my website, which is www.raclawfirm.com.
Right. And he's the man, y'all. Awesome.
Peace. Bye.